Okay, so in this video, I just want to sort of reverse engineer what we were doing there. What we had before was we were plotting some points on a line x minus 1 and then shifting some points off of that line. In this particular case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some x values and some y values that I've loaded into the computer. You can see I made a data frame out of them. There's an x vector here, and then there's another vector over here called ex5. It's got some other values on it. And I'm going to plot those, and I get something like this. And so the game we want to play right now is how do we figure out sort of, or how do we get a guess for the line that these guys are being shifted off of. I've tried to make this a little more obvious by making 1,000 data values on there. So what we're going to do is just sort of guess some lines. And I'm going to go AB line, and I have a negative slope here. And just to get an idea of something, we need to, if we use this AB line, we need an intercept, and we need a slope. And if I look at here, here's 0, here's 0. So I'm going to guess the intercept might be at 0. And then I'm going to go ahead and just pick a slope here. It's got to be something negative, so I'll try negative 2 just to see what happens here. Yes, I do know exactly what the answer is for this, but I'm going to run it. And I notice that that line misses right there. So I'm going to try something else. And I'm going to change the color on this so we can actually see this, because when we get the right thing, it's going to do what? It's going to disappear in there if we don't use a different color. So that's obviously needs more of a slope. So let's try -9. And that's too much of something. So let's try 5. Getting closer, 7. And 7 looks like it runs through those things there. Now what I want to look for is a particular line. I want something that's going to do two things that we saw in the previous videos. I want things to have a basically something that looks kind of normal in terms of those little error values, and I want something that's going to be centered at 0. That's really what I'm looking for with this. So the way I can do something like that is I can say, well, let's have y values be calculated, right? Because I'm going to guess the line. And the y values I'm going to calculate are going to come from this line right there. They're going to be -7 times. Now my x values were these guys right here. That was the data frame I loaded up. So I'm going to have these right here loaded in. So I now have some y values loaded. They are going to follow along here. And now what I want to do is I want to find out how different they are from all the little black circles that are overlapping themselves here. So the way I will do that is I will make those things called residuals. Okay, because there's my guess for a line, and I made those residuals by taking the shifted off things and subtracting away the line they were trying to sit on. So I'm going to say, well, those shifted off values are actually these, and then I'm going to subtract away my y values there. And what I want to do is see if they sort of fit the pattern that I'm looking for. So I'm going to run this, and yes, indeed, they do look kind of normal. But notice that the center is sort of sitting in the wrong spot there. It's at 5, so maybe I will try adjusting that a little bit. So let's try adding on 5. Well, I got a 5 down here. Let's subtract 5 from it. See what happens. Rerun this whole thing. Oh, now I'm centered off at 10, so I went the wrong way with that. So add on a 5. Now I got something that looks like it's sort of running through with a center at 0, and they look normal, these little residual things. That's what I'm plotting there. And then I also want to go ahead and make one of those plots that I call the residual plot that's going to have the actual values that I collected on the x-axis, and I want to have the residuals on the other. All right? So that's this guy right here, and I'm going to plot this. Oops, I got to put an S on the end there. And if I look at that, let's throw the AB line on here. AB line, H equals 0. I'm going to make the color equaling red again, just so we can see it. And if we look at that, we've got enough points there that, we're not really seeing any kind of a pattern here, other than they're sort of evenly spread on one side and evenly spread on the other side of the line y equals 0. So that's sort of the properties I was looking for before, and that's what I should expect to see when I have a lot of data showing up like that. I should see stuff that's centered sort of at 0, looks kind of normal for these little residual things, and then they should also, when I look at this residual plot, not really have much of a pattern showing up here, just sort of have one half on one side, one half on the other side, scattered up and down. Okay, so that's the next thing I wanted to show you there.